Thank you, John. Thanks again for sticking it out through 2025. And for everybody here, I know we're keen to hit the cocktail reception. So forward-looking statements can be making a few. These are our properties. We started out 8 years ago in Nevada on the Bonita property, launching my career as a project geologist on this one. A couple years before that as global exploration with major mining companies. But Bonita is where I really cut my teeth on a porphyry exploration in Nevada. After that, we drilled and tested the Amsel epithermal gold silver system. Last year, we drilled the new Boston porphyry copper moly system. But the focus of the exploration this year and going into 2025 is on the Empire magmatic copper, PG, and gold system. And the focus of drilling next week is going to be on the silverback, intrusion-related, and shear zone upgraded copper, gold, and silver system. So here I'm showing a lot of stuff on this map, but the little black dots are where we have drill holes in an assessment report database. And the thing that you'll notice on this map is that there's a lot of drill holes on the greenstone belts because in Ontario, you can see Thunder Bay right down here on the left of Lake Superior. A lot of the exploration is going after orogenic gold systems in VMS over the years, and it works. We're finding Greenstone Mine is being put into production. Delta Resources is doing a great job exploring just out of Thunder Bay. Goliath Gold has a great resource, but what's of interest to us is the Hammond Reef system just over here. There's 10 million ounces in the geological model, 3.3 million ounces measured and indicated, and it's just next to our Silverback project right here. We're working on the same structures, these northeast trending structures that are very important. They're coming off the Quetico splay. And we're also looking at Hemlo on this map because what's really important about Silverback is this moly that I'm going to talk about in a minute. But another thing you'll notice is that there's almost zero drill holes in this entire area. There's just about zero exploration been done in this area, and it's because a lot of that ground is covered with a thin layer of glacial till, so zero outcrops to look at, and it hampered a lot of the exploration in the early days. But we've got some new technologies. And so that's one thing that I'm trying to do as a new CEO here at VR Resources is to really lean into new technologies. I've got a degree in machine learning and AI, and we're trying to implement that at every step of the way. So we're looking at historic data, just like I showed on that last map, crunching all the data, trying to guide ourselves into the right direction. We're also doing our research. We're reading up as much as possible on the types of deposits that we're looking for, big intrusion-related copper and gold systems. We try to collect cost-effective data wherever possible, low-cost geochemistry, magnetics, using 80s technology on frequency domain EM, and also using cutting-edge, state-of-the-art 3D DCIP, which we're going to look at on our Silverback project here in a second. And also, you can't be afraid to test your ideas. You got to get the truth machine out there, which, as I mentioned, we're doing next week at Silverback. But there's something that AI can't do, and that's get out in the field and test your ideas, get your boots wet and your hands dirty. And that's exactly what Byron Holbeck has been doing for the last 3 years as a prospector and entrepreneur. He's my new business partner at VR Resources, and it's his work that we're going to be showcasing here. PowerPoint has done a crappy job of exporting my PowerPoint presentation, so bear with me. But this is when I met Byron 2 years ago at Roundup 2023. He brought this rock to our Core Shack booth at Roundup, and 5.6% copper, 10 grams gold, and 50 grams silver is a great grade, and this occurs over a meter. This is something that he found while he was exploring. He had clear-cut the block. He has a history of being an entrepreneur, owning a logging company, and he'd clear-cut this area. He knew there were some quartz veins in the area, but it wasn't until he came back in 2022, took this sample, excavated the hole with his own excavator, and unearthed this sample that things started to get really exciting. Not too far south of here is another outcrop where there's molybdenum on a fracture plane in a gabbro, something that I've heard my professors at university tell me is just about impossible. But what it tells us is that the molybdenum is a vector for gold, and this is one of the key vectors for mineralization in the Hemlo camp. This news to me, when Byron told me about that moly, was when the light bulbs started to go on, and I realized we've got a model for something that could be really exciting. But Byron, being the tenacious prospector that he is, he put his own money into drilling 2 holes in spring 2024. I was on the phone with him a couple times as he was doing this drill program, and he told me about this Archean porphyry intrusion that he'd hit. He was targeting this mafic dike, and he had a conductor on it, and he was hoping to see this magmatic sulfide, pentathlite, chalcopyrite, maybe coming out of that mafic dike, a sort of magmatic sulfide system, more akin to what we're doing at our Empire project. What he ended up hitting instead, which I think is the most exciting thing and what really made me want to take this project on inside VR Resources, is this 100-meter intersection here. I'll show you a picture in a second. It's got up to 800 ppb gold in it. It's anomalous, around 15 to 50 ppb throughout. Those aren't exciting grades, but what it's telling us is that the geophysics work on the property and that there's an intrusion, just like at Hemlo, where you're pulling the gold out of a deep intrusion. In this case, it's 50 meters from surface, and you're remobilizing it into the shear zones like we saw in this image. This is a shear zone, remobilized copper, gold, silver story. The pieces are starting to come together for what kind of deposit model we have at Silverback. And so in November, after acquiring these projects, taking over as CEO and planning a bunch of exploration, in November we ran this 3D DCIP survey over a 3x3 kilometer area. And my Christmas present from the gods, I guess, was this beautiful chargeability anomaly running north-south along the structures that we'd already identified in the magnetics, in the EM geophysics, and the same structures that are super important at the Hammond Reef gold deposits about 30 kilometers to the west. So we're getting a lot of different pieces of information starting to layer together. And what's really interesting now in hindsight is looking at hole 2 right here. You can see this tiny little chargeability anomaly. I think that that chargeability anomaly represents that mineralization that Byron hit in this drill hole right here. So we're seeing disseminated pyrite. This is what it looks like. You got disseminated pyrite in this beautiful sheared up. You can see the sort of wavy textures in there. And that same chargeability anomaly is right there. It's on the edge of that mafic dike. And I guess the big what if now with the drilling next week is what are we going to see when we go over to this large chargeability anomaly, which it should be mapping disseminated sulfides underground, right below the high-grade shear zone outcrop, with these chargeability anomalies coming to surface in an area where the magnetite has basically been destroyed in these gabbroic rocks, which are highly magnetic and have nickel mineralization that we're not even bothered about right now with this interesting copper-gold story happening. And I should also mention that these two photos, they're about 2.5 kilometers apart on either side of the high-grade, large chargeability model at the center of the system, outlined here. So quartz veining over there, quartz veining up here, large chargeability anomaly in the middle on one of those very important north-northeast structures that we see repeated over and over and over again in the Quetico terrain. Onto our Empire project. This is the second sort of tier 1 level project that we picked up from Byron. There's a lot of stuff in here, and I hope you come and talk to us at our booth either tomorrow or with a beer after this presentation. But essentially, Byron found, he was following up on a recommendation from the OGS to explore in this area palladium anomalies in lake sediments. There's these big magnetic anomalies, and he said, what if this is a mafic intrusion? Nobody believed that there was mafic intrusions in this area. He showed me this rock. It's got 0.14 grams gold, 0.2% copper, and about half a gram to 0.8 grams platinum and palladium in it. We drilled a couple holes, about 1,000 meters, 1,188 meters to be exact, in November and December of last year, and we're expecting our geochemistry to come in by the end of this month. So we're hoping to see that we can show that Westwood is fertile, that all other of these 5 anomalies on the map in a new district are also these mafic intrusions, and over the next couple months we're going to be looking to test these and find out, as well as another one that we staked just 2 or 3 days ago and announced in a news release, if we have a new district of mafic intrusions with copper, gold, and PGEs in them. So that's a lot of stuff to get through. This is the team. A lot of you may have met Mike Gunning before. He's still involved. I talk to him just about on a daily basis, strategy and corporate planning. Byron Holbick, of course, our new exploration manager, who lives in Uppsala, not 30 minutes away from each project, affording us incredible cost efficiencies in our exploration. And the goal here is, of course, to find a mine. Both Byron and I are passionate about this. We want to leave a legacy behind. And we're excited to be doing this work. So here's the rest of our corporate team. This is our corporate structure, 133 million shares outstanding. A lot of insider ownership between Mike, Byron, and myself now at this point is probably nearing 15%. Some institutional ownership, the rest retail, $1 million in cash at the moment. Thank you. Here's an AI-generated image I put together just a couple weeks ago, down with 2024, and let's hope John's right on 2025. We can get some large intrusion-related systems in 25. with copper and gold. Thank you.